Hi there and welcome back, friends, to our talk with Ardiris in Mirlawest, the sanctuary of the Castos. We want to know more about the Castos, and we're going to find it out, hopefully, by asking Ardiris, the peacemaker. Can you tell me about the Castos here? She spreads her hands in regret. Ordinarily, we see more activity here, and we would perhaps have prepared a homecoming for you. But rumor has convinced many that the sorrow has been more active of late. To ease their minds, I offer the vote to close the portals into the sanctuary, but I digress. The current guests include the Chalcedon, Lady Ange, Elkishai, Andronus, Raima, Melmoth. I suppose you've just missed my friend Paj. And thought so few join me in voting against it. I underestimated how afraid they all are. The Chalcedon commands our creator's forces in the endless battle. He is a true believer, a tightly wound man, but brilliant. Lady Angie brings her trinkets from all over her mercantile empire. Poor Elkishai has been badly treated by the world. Perhaps you could have a word or two with him. Andronus is, well, his best quality is that he's loyal to Paj. Perhaps I should say, to the memory of the first. But he's also volatile and argumentative, and he's devoted his centuries to fighting. You'll likely find him sparring verbally with Raima, whose devotion to the ideals of our sire is the equal of his. She smiles a bit. And then my friend Melmoth, the leader of the Dendra Uhur. He's quite a charmer. Speak to him, you'll see. And the Castos who aren't here. A small frown crosses her mouth, a minute wrinkle in her brow. Our creator chose to live a bountiful life, and he has brought hundreds into the world. He has explored many forms, shapes, and sizes, and he has led some of our kin through time-twisting loops. I do not know all their names, but I hope that I might one day befriend them. Even those who have been twisted into savagery. Even if I knew them all, I would not divulge their secrets, just as I would not divulge yours. She smiles gently to take the sting from the rebuke. What can you tell me about the sorrow, our dearest enemy? I know little, nothing about where it came from, nor its purpose, nor its true desires, apart from seeing us all dead. She closes her eyes. None of us do. Though some of us have devoted centuries to trying to understand it. Indeed, the creation of Mirlawest was intended for that purpose. But the first and the changing god grew complacent, and then they grew possessive, and then the endless battle. She sighs and opens her eyes. Sometimes I feel that the sorrow must hunt us, because so many of us are so very disagreeable. But in truth, I believe that sorrow hunts us because of something to do with the tides. Our unique powers tied to the tides must summon it. I have not seen the sorrow track other living beings, nor heard of it in any context but the cast of situation. It must be the tides. It must. What do you know about the tides, coming from that side? I have studied them. What else can I do when I'm not trying to keep the peace here? The first and our sire used Mirlawest as their sanctuary, after all. Though their remaining notes are cryptic or piecemeal, I have learned enough to believe that it is our use of the tides that draws the sorrow to us. Each of us has access to a broader tidal power. The tidal surges, as you have no doubt discovered, but I choose not to use mine, and I have seen no sign of the sorrow. I recognize that this is not a logical conclusion. The sorrow might yet hunt me for reasons unknown, but I am content in knowing that at least I harm no others with my body. A smile flickers, and Melmoth knows more, as he is eager to tell us at every opportunity. He has made certain to use every tool at his disposal in an effort to preserve and understand our lives, but I do not believe that he has made an extensive study of the sorrow's motivation. Okay, And what can you tell me in general about this place, Mirla West? The name comes from a language predating our creator. It means Stone of Wonders. He and the first created our sanctuary jointly, siting it on this plateau. Oh, that's our memory. Because the devices they found here proved uniquely suited to creating a sanctuary and to power the shields that protect us. They brought more of us here. Our elders hid from the sorrow or retreated here from the cares of the world. They built homes, laboratories, and more. The shields protected them from the sorrow's gaze, but when the first and the changing gods struggled, all that fell apart. The peace of Mirla West was shattered, and those who remained chose sides. Blood spilled on the great disk. Factions fought for control of the wisdom gained here. She shakes her head. Such a waste. It was not until after the first death and my arrival that we were able to resecure peace. And so we once again have a sanctuary for Annie Castoff. She looks sidelong at your companions and their occasional guests. Would that we had not closed the doorways, though. Whether the sorrow is truly more active or not, there are undoubtedly others who would wish to find safety here. She shakes her head. I accept the responsibility for the closure. Those who chose to leave have left, and I wish the rest safety. And the first cast-off, what do you remember of the stories of the others? She died a few years after I was born. A pity. I wish I could have spoken with her to understand her drive and her passion. She honestly thought she would serve us all, and sometimes I ask myself what she might do in a situation when two of our brothers are fighting. She shrugs. And then I remember that so many of them have died fighting in her war, and my respect vanishes. I would have loved to speak with her, help her find another way. Alas, anything more about the first cast-off? She was driven, ambitious and strong, and she cared deeply for all of us, but her hatred obscured the bonds between us, and she drove us into war. Let's talk about the Changing God. What do you think of him? Have you seen him? Do you know where he is? That's quite a list. Which would you prefer to address first? Well, have you seen him recently? She laughs. Never, to my knowledge. Perhaps I have, and he never revealed himself. It would be very like him to gather his intelligence and then be away. We regard every new cast-off with a suspicion that he or she might truly be our creator, and frequently a new cast-off will pretend to be. We find the truth one way or another, and our sire continues to live in a way that we do not fully understand. To be clear, you really haven't seen the Changing God recently. I do not believe so, no. What do you think of him? A brilliant man, thoughtful, charismatic, a mind greater than any the Ninth World has seen. Where the Aeon priests of today cobble together bits and pieces of Numenera, our creator was a visionary. Were it not for the sorrow, I honestly believe that he would lift us into a new age of human achievement. She shrugs. He has also systematically destroyed every relationship he ever built. He does not seem to understand human frailty or emotion. No, let me rephrase that. He understands those things well enough to exploit them in others, but does not accept their reality. If you understand what I mean, more plainly, he's a selfish man who grows ever more disconnected with his inferiors every year. She purses her lips. His life is a tragedy. It truly is. What do you know of his history, by the way? Much of it he has deliberately obscured, and much he has rewritten, either to make himself seem a better man or to keep his enemies from finding him, but I can provide you with the broad strokes if you wish. She closes her eyes, recalling. He saved the city of Sagus Cliffs from the Tabat, and it was after their siege that he focused so heavily on mental transference techniques. though we do not know why. He was successful in his attempts, obviously, and this is the first record we have of the sorrow in modern times. She taps her fingers on her lips. He traveled to another world or dimension, and I've heard that this is where the first was born. His studies in the tides ran deep. He claimed to have spent lifetimes exploring them, and when he had mastered them, he destroyed the Tabard utterly. He brought the order of truth to Sago's cliffs and sought to keep knowledge alive. By creating the Dendra O'Hur, his life has been about the creation or preservation of wisdom. She shakes her head, but to what end? There seems to be no pattern or goal. He does not seem to build for humanity, but for his own legacy. Should we emulate this? Well, okay, Aderes. And farewell for now. That was a very interesting talk. But there's more to find out here in this strange place. Let's see what we find also. There's this Elkashai, but there's also these guys, Andronas and Reimer. Think you have it all figured out, don't you? Of course I do. Everyone with any sense does. And this is Reimer, because he won't talk to us for some reason. This woman bears a toothy smile, enjoying the anger in the man she's speaking with. You probably think if you won, then the endless battle would actually end. Andronas Sandhand. This man's face is flushed and angry. Veins throb on his forehead, and his eyes are focused on his companion. Stop talking, Reimer. He spits each word, gripping his weapon belt with bloodless fingers. Stop talking or I'll prove you wrong right now. Scan thoughts. He planned this. Ridiculous. I would have known. Ah, but it wouldn't do anything of the sort, Reimer replies, grinning as though she intends to eat the man whole and screaming. Even this argument is part of his plan. Do what you have to do, Andronas. If not for the law, you'd already be dead, he says, and spits at her feet. Traitor, fool. You child, Reimer says with laughing scorn. You ingrate. Scanthor's a typical first militia response. Angry indignation. Pardon me, what are you doing? What? They shout in unison, whirling on you. What are you two arguing about? Best stay out of it, Andronas says, slashing the air between him and Reimer with his hand. Even a second of her boot-licking nonsense is a waste of your time. Hide from the truth all you want, Reimer says, shaking her head. You know I'm right. You know it. Neither of you actually told me what you were arguing about, by the way. Of course I didn't, Reimer says, grinning. Andronas never lets me get a word in edgewise. Why should I? Andronas says with a bitter laugh. All of your words are his, and I've had enough of him for a lifetime. Can't you tell me? Grinding his teeth together, Andronas merely shakes his head. Reimer chuckles under her breath and runs an easy hand over her scalp. How long have you two known each other anyway? Too long, Andronas says. Agreed, says Reimer. Oh, that's it with the tides, right? Tell me now. And they won't tell us. Okay, farewell. It seems we must speak to Melmoth soon. By the looks, Reimer and Andronas turned your way. You've interrupted a promising tangent of their apparently infinite argument. Well, farewell. Farewell right now. And we'll ask Melmoth after the tides again in the next episode, where we find out. It's a lot of lore to take in, but I trust you will find it interesting to listen to. We also must speak to Rin. We'll do that as a refreshing change in the next episode first. Have a great time until then, and happy gaming. This is Immanuel signing out.